July 21st, 1997.
As you see, the president is moving in a state of pandemonium exists out here.
It's the summer of 1964, and Lyndon Baines Johnson is running for president, but he's fighting with his rivals.
What I'm going to do, if they just keep on, I'm going to shock him right in the puss, and I don't want to do that.
His opponent.
What did you say yesterday about extremists?
That extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
I'll just say extremism to destroy liberty is.
And even his running mate.
What are your plans now, sir, please? I plan on going up and making...
This boy, our friend Hubert, is just destroying himself with his big mouth.
Tonight, the LBJ tapes crossing a political minefield.
This is ABC News Nightline. Substituting for Ted Koppel and reporting from Washington, Aaron Brown.
We have spent the last several days reliving the summer of 1964. A new batch of Lyndon Johnson's tapes were released, tapes of his phone calls, and they cover about 2 months in the middle of that summer. And what a summer that was. Race was the dominant domestic issue. The Civil Rights Bill was passed by Congress. There was some urban rioting in the North and plenty of race-related violence in the South. 3 civil rights workers had been kidnapped and murdered. Their bodies had been found in Mississippi. Abroad, the war in Southeast Asia was escalating. The Gulf of Tonkin resolution was passed by Congress. And all of that took place in a few short weeks in the summer of '64, while the nation was still mourning the assassination of President Kennedy about 8 months before. For Lyndon Johnson, they were troubling times. The Democratic Convention and his nomination were just a few weeks away, and he was determined to resist the pressure to put his own Attorney General and President Kennedy's brother Robert on the ticket as vice president. But he was also worried about the aura of the Kennedys when he called an old friend, Texas Governor John Connally, seeking advice on what to do about Bobby.
It just seems to me like that I'll tell him that I'm not going to recommend to the delegation that to take him. But most of them think that he is determined that he wants this job, and he'll do anything in the world he can to get it, and it's by causing the fight. He thinks that he can probably make me throw the election, and he'd like to see me a defeated man like Stevenson.
I feel very strongly about it, as you know, and I think you have to take Bobby on in a goddamn fight. Let's take him on. He's an arrogant, he's an egotistical, a selfish person that feels like he's almost anointed, and he is so power mad that it's unbelievable. And that's the very reason you can't take him on this ticket, because most people know it.
Neither of the two men, Johnson nor his Attorney General Robert Kennedy, liked or trusted the other very much. How strong the distrust can be heard in a conversation on the 21st of July. It started out as a discussion about security arrangements for a trip Martin Luther King Jr. was making to Mississippi. It ended up with Kennedy, the Attorney General, wondering what the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover were up to.
Hello, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King's going down to Greenwood, Mississippi tonight, and he's going to address a mass rally there. And of course that creates a problem. It's a ticklish problem, because if he gets killed, it creates all kinds of problems. Just him being dead, but also a lot of other kind of problems.
Yeah. Can we have FBI people there and have them keeping their eyes and ears open and preceding him and following him probably?
Well, it's difficult just the preceding and following. Then I suppose we can. Again, I have no dealings with the FBI anymore, but I think maybe they asked them perhaps.
Didn't he get you that report the other day that he said that?
Yeah. But I understand that, he sends all kinds of reports over to you about me and about the Department of Justice.
Not any that I've seen. What are you talking about?
Well, I had understood that he had sent reports over about me. Trying the overthrow of the government by force and violence.
No.
Leading a coup.
No, that's an error. He never has said that or indicated or given any indication of it.
LBJ historian Robert Dallek joins us tonight to help us make some sense out of what we've just heard. These two men, Kennedy and Johnson, had reason to distrust each other.
Well, indeed they did. They had a long history of animus, of antagonism. Johnson was never going to take Bobby Kennedy as his vice presidential running mate. He simply did not want to be in a position of winning the presidency with the idea that Kennedy had helped him. He wanted to win it on his own.
And if Bobby Kennedy felt the FBI was sending nasty things to the president about him, he had reason to be concerned about that.
Absolutely. He was greatly concerned that Johnson was going to try and drive him out of his administration. And so, of course, Bobby left and ran for the United States Senate.
By the end of July, LBJ had decided that Kennedy would not be his vice president. But how to tell him? That was on President Johnson's mind when he talked to advisor Clark Clifford on July 29th, a rehearsal for his meeting with Robert Kennedy.
This is Clark.
How are you, my friend?
Fine, friend.
I'm going to have that meeting today.
Yes, sir.
I've talked to one or two folks that have, he knows what it's about. He suspects it. But they think that it would be a mistake for me to ask him for any comment or any reaction or try to get any agreement other than just tell him this is my decision. Because if it did, it would mean a joining of swords right then and there. And this is the thing he wants more than anything else in his life. If he's denied it, it'll be very cruel and so forth.
Yes, sir.
You have a feeling about whether I ought to, he also wants to know who it is I'm selecting.
I have believed all along that all you do is tell him.
Yeah.
Now, I think it appropriate and courteous to give some reasons for your decision, but you are not asking him at any time for his reaction. I would not get into that.
But if he asks you if you've made the decision, what would you say?
When he says, have you made the decision? I have not made the decision, final decision as yet. And I'd let that stay just that way. But the one decision that you have made, and you're telling him about, is the decision that it is not to be he.
As you will hear later, LBJ had reason to worry about how the Kennedys would react to the news. But first, when we come back, the dangerous politics of civil rights in the summer of '64.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Effordent.
Introducing the only denture cleanser with fresh burst Listerine ingredients. New Minty Effordent Plus. It fights denture odor, and if you get this close, you'll see what causes it. Germs. New Minty Effordent Plus kills 99.9% of the germs that cause denture odor as it turns from blue to minty green. And if you get this close, you'll know why that's important. New Effordent Plus with fresh burst Listerine ingredients. Kill the germs, kill the odor.
The all-new Century offers the luxury of dual-zone climate control, which does exactly what the name says. So whoever's on the right can have it a few degrees cooler than whoever's on the left, or vice versa. There are many degrees of luxury in the new Century. Dual-zone climate control is just one. You'll also like its cool price.
Discover a little luxury in the Century.
Tomorrow, preventing convicted sex offenders from striking again. One Community's Answer on ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Yes, ma'am. Right away, ma'am. Uh-oh. Better get Mako.
When the unexpected happens, get Mako's Ambassador Paint Service for $189.95.
Who do you turn to for severe weather information?
I love Channel 2. That's the first station I turn on.
I have been switching to 2 lately.
I love Channel 2.
Keeps track of storms and lets you know it's going to get wiped away in a tornado.
When you have a weather tracking system where you can literally see your block, guess where you're going to look?
Storm Tracker 2000, exclusively on News 2.
What do you like best about Mid-South Dental Centers?
They keep my smile beautiful.
They can do a payment plan for you.
Call Mid-South Dental Centers today.
I just enjoy doing business with them.
1 year ago this month, 3 little girls are stolen from their families.
I just want to be able to hold her.
and to tell her I'm sorry I wasn't there.
News 2 takes you into the lives of 3 families who are holding on to their stolen angels. Wednesday at 10, only on News 2.
On July 17, 1964, Lyndon Johnson was walking a tightrope. Just as Barry Goldwater's opposition to the Civil Rights Bill hurt him in the North, Johnson's support for the bill, he'd pushed it through Congress, hurt the Democrats in the South. Johnson wanted to be seen as a moderate, not a liberal on civil rights. He talked with aide Bill Moyers about the next day's news conference, how to deal with the race issue and hate groups like the Klan.
Now, I rather think that you ought to give some serious consideration to making a statement in reply to a question tomorrow on the Klan. And it may be that we ought to talk about these pistol-packing, shotgun night riders that shoot people driving up and down the highway, and it's pretty good evidence that the Klan's mixed up in it. And we want to appeal to local authorities and state authorities to put an end to it. And it's got to be stopped, and the government's going to see it as it is. And then we might ought to make a little appeal to the Negroes and say we hope people be restrained. We've got a law now, and let us try it, and let us have it work. Just as the night riders ought to be taking things in their hands, I hope that the people who feel that they've been aggrieved through the years could kind of also be restrained in their action. Not to say they can't demonstrate, or they can't petition, or they can't march. Yes, sir. But that they ought to likewise be restrained. All right, sir.
Johnson would ask Moyers to have J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI prepare a strong statement linking the Klan with the hate crimes and the shootings in both Georgia and Mississippi.
Just say that we have evidence they've been associated with it. All right, sir. And that we appreciate the cooperation we're receiving from state authorities. But the world ought to know that if these local constables and sheriffs, state authorities can't put a stop to it, well, we can, and it's just got to be done. We can't allow it. And that we ought to ask all of those that who the law is passed to protect, give us a chance to put it in effect and to let up just enough hell raising to restrain themselves enough and give us a chance to do it. Now you have got to get a little spirit and a little God in there and a little church. And I think that we really ought to be on record as denouncing both of them, but doing it in the Klan in a pretty tough way, and all extremists. And what did he say yesterday about extremists?
He said, quote, extremism in the defense of liberty is not a vice.
Well, I'd just say extremism to destroy liberty is.
We don't believe the ends justify the means.
That's right.
Indeed, Johnson did meet with reporters the next day and did condemn the use of violence and terror by the clandestine hate groups, and did take his cue from Bill Moyers and finished up by saying, "I am not one who believes that the end justifies the means." Professor Dallek, for one who remembers the Goldwater election as a landslide, was there really a concern that there were issues that Goldwater could hurt the Democrats on?
Yeah, absolutely. Johnson saw Goldwater as an extremist, and he used that very effectively against him in the campaign. But he was worried about civil rights, because this divided the Democratic Party, and it might be an explosive issue in the South. Not might, it clearly was an explosive issue in the South. There's a wonderful story about after the Civil Rights Bill passed, Bill Moyers came to see Johnson in his bedroom the next morning, found him in bed surrounded by newspapers announcing the great success of the civil rights legislation. Johnson was glum. Moyers asked him, "Why are you so down in the dumps, Mr. President?" And Johnson responded, "Because, Bill, I think we may have given away the south to the Republican Party for as far into the future as any of us can see.
And in fact, all the president's political strategists, including Robert Kennedy, were concerned about what civil rights might mean to the campaign. Listen to this conversation between the president and Robert Kennedy, where Kennedy, this champion of civil rights, urges the president to avoid the subject, not debate Goldwater on civil rights in the campaign ahead.
I think, Mr. President, it's a major mistake to let him choose this battleground now and have it this struggle and this election over the question of civil rights. And because I know that if it comes down to the question of civil rights, Democrats are going to have a very tough time. I think we got to get it off that.
Yes,
that question.
Of course, the difficulty, what we need to get it on is his impetuousness and his impulsiveness and his wanting to turn the bomb over to somebody else.
Yeah.
But I certainly agree with you. Civil rights is
not our
there's something around our neck.
Road Trip Tire Sale featuring select Goodyear, Pirelli, Michelin, and Bridgestones.
Roll me east, roll me west, rolling free, that's the best.
Sears Auto Center, we keep you rolling.
Free to roll.
Sears Road Trip Tire Sale featuring the Goodyear Weather Handler. Sale ends August 2nd.
Tonight, PI asked Paul Sorvino and Poulter Robert Schimmel and Naomi Wolf, which is more dangerous, being too thin, too fat, or too opinionated?
Politically Incorrect, coming up on ABC Late Night.
Coming in, guys.
Heading into the pits with major damage.
To make it here, you gotta have the right tools.
Race in for Shoney's new $4.99 half-pound burger or charbroiled chicken sandwich with fries and get a Coke free. Get a Fleer NASCAR collectible trading card for the kids free with any adult purchase.
And kids, color my car and enter to win your family a racing weekend with me.
Clear, clear, clear.
It's amazing what you can do with a few crayons.
Free Coke, free trading card, free weekend with Kyle.
Great job, guys. Racing at Shoney's.
Yeah!
Just for Feet is your headquarters for K-Swiss.
What a beautiful look.
And ooh, K-Swiss lasagna.
Nice touch.
The K-Swiss Classic.
Comfortable and durable.
And the K-Swiss Beato tennis shoe.
For when it's the other person's time to serve.
The Zurich and the Surf and Turf on sale for just $19.99 at Just for Feet.
K-Swiss Comfort.
For $19.99, you may never want to take them off.
But sometimes maybe you should.
Just for Feet.
Where the 13th pair is free.
Those busted pipes are flooding your basement.
Hello?
Hi, honey. The dentist bill's going to be expensive.
Now the roof is leaking, too.
When it rains, it pours. But Tennessee Title Loans can provide you with instant cash on your car title, and you keep the car. Call Tennessee Title Loans toll-free. 1-800-514-CASH.
I took care of everything.
Now we just need the money to pay for it.
I took care of that, too.
Get the cash you need at Tennessee Title Loans. Call 1-800-514-CASH.
On July 29, 1964, President Johnson finally broke the news to Robert Kennedy. Kennedy would not be on the ticket. If there is a tape of that meeting, it's never been released, so we don't know exactly what was said at that meeting. What we do know is what LBJ told his national security advisor, McGeorge Bundy, later about the conversation with Kennedy.
I said, I want you to know that I've been concerned about a matter that's of interest to you and to me. I've concluded you should hear it from me direct first. I've reached the decision that it would be inadvisable for you to be a candidate for the number 2 spot this year. I feel like that this is not the time for you, if you have ambitions to lead the country, to go after this spot. I want you to direct the campaign. I want you to do anything else that you'd like to do. I need your help. I think you're brilliant. I think you're dedicated. I think that you're good for the country. I think you'll be good for me. We need it. And he said, well, I want to help any way I can. The rest of the campaign, I don't know what to do after that. He got up, walked to the door, and got the door turned around and said, well, I could have been a hell of a lot of help to you. If you'd asked my opinion, I would have told you that I could have been a hell of a lot of help to you. And meaning if he'd gone on the ticket, I assume. I looked that way, and I said, well, you are going to be a hell of a lot of help to me. In the way I've outlined it. And then I hesitated a moment, and he smiled, and I smiled, and I said, a hell of a lot of help to yourself.
LBJ was right to be worried about how the Kennedy decision would play. Johnson believed that Kennedy himself was planning stories in the press about what a mistake Johnson had made, and the president wanted it stopped. He turned to Larry O'Brien, a Kennedy friend and a Johnson aide, and he read him one of the offending news stories.
I'm getting a barrage of unnecessary heckling and harassing today from Hyannisport. Attorney General Kennedy received a barrage of telephone calls and messages from supporters angered at the manner in which the president eliminated him as a Democratic candidate. Informed sources said the callers, backers of the Attorney General and the late President Kennedy, asked the Attorney General what their next move should be.
That's Hyannisport Dateline?
Yes, sir.
My God.
And ain't nobody knows about the barrage of calls without his knowing it.
Well, I'll have to agree there.
Now, will you talk shit about that? Because what I'm going to do, if they just keep on, I'm going to sock him right in the puss, and I don't want to do that.
By now, Johnson was leaning towards Hubert Humphrey. And as you can tell in this conversation with labor leader Walter Reuther, there was much Johnson admired about the Minnesota senator.
If we have a problem, I have a good mind just turn Hubert loose by God and let him see him, because nobody sees him but what likes him. He's a laughing fellow. You can't insult him. He just smiles you out of the room, and he's logical as hell, and he's eloquent as hell, and he's for the poor man, and that's where you got a lot of poor people.
Hubert can do that job, Mr. President, better than anybody else, and he'll go out and work his heart out.
But LBJ was not always so full of praise. 5 days later, he got this call from James Rowe, an old friend and an advisor. It seems Humphrey had told an NBC reporter about a sensitive and secret communications with the Russian government. He had leaked it, and the president was enraged.
I don't know, I don't know how to get this message over, but this boy, our friend Hubert, is just destroying himself with his big mouth.
Are you talking again?
Yeah, all the time. You just got to understand that you can't talk about war plans. You just can't talk about it. Now, this morning, a fellow called me very upset, one of the highest officials in the government, and said, have you talked to Humphrey about a communication from Khrushchev? And I said, no. Well, Humphrey has discussed the details of communications with Khrushchev that somebody must have let him know about, and with a correspondent for NBC. And it's the one thing that could make Khrushchev drop a bomb on us. And he just ought to keep his goddamn big mouth shut on foreign affairs, at least until the election's over.
Despite his misgivings, Johnson did select Humphrey in the end.
My long time my trusted colleague, Senator Hubert Humphrey of Minnesota.
They were now a team, Johnson and Humphrey, although neither man could have known then how the events of that summer, the summer of '64, the racial unrest at home, the escalating war in Southeast Asia, would change the country and change history's view of them. In a moment, no doubt about who wore the pants in the Johnson White House.
Looking for more space? Try the next Century.
It's got the most interior space of any vehicle in its class. Because extra space is one luxurious touch that's appreciated by families everywhere. The all-new Century by Buick.
Just a little luxury in the Century.
They created electronic trading, and a global intranet became their trading floor. An intranet now able to handle 1 billion shares a day, with trades flashed to 300,000 monitors around the world in milliseconds. With reliability critical, with no room for error, who did NASDAQ turn to build and manage the world's largest intranet? MCI. Imagine now what we can do for you.
Problem. Two women have 20 minutes to catch the same train. But first, they must run a few errands. If woman A uses her ATM card with the MasterCard logo, and woman B still writes checks, who will catch the train? If you answered woman A, you're right. Now use your debit MasterCard. Withdraws directly from your checking account. Debit MasterCard accepted everywhere you see MasterCard.
Welcome to a tale of Spin City's Mike, who's a rock in any situation.
That's why I'm so happy I'm having your baby.
You froze my guys?
I'm just here to get your blessing.
What am I, the Pope? You padlocked the freezer. I'm taking the whole thing with me.
Join us for another tale of Spin City, right after Home Improvement, ABC Tuesdays.
How to fit a ton of features into a half-ton truck. The Mazda SE5.
Mazda SE5. Well, I want it all. Mazda SE5.
The Mazda SE5. Have it all with 3,000 total savings.
Said Mazda SE5.
3,000 total savings or get 3.9% APR.
There's one other thing we should tell you about this batch of LBJ tapes. They aren't all about politics and policy. One of them is about pants, trousers. The president needed new pants. So he called Joe Hager, as in Hager slacks, and he ordered them as only he could.
Mr. Hager?
Yes, this is Joe Hager.
Joe, is your father the one that makes clothes?
Yes, sir. We're all together.
You all made me some real lightweight slacks that he just made up on his own, sent to me 3 or 4 months ago. Now, I need about 6 pairs for summer wear.
Yes, sir.
I want a couple of, maybe 3 of the light brown, kind of a almost powder color, like the powder on a lady's face. I want them a ½ inch larger in the waist than they were before, except I want 2 or 3 inches of stuff left back in there so I can take them up. I vary 10 to 15 pounds a month.
All right, sir.
Now, the pockets, when you sit down in the chair, the knife and your money comes out, so I needed at least another inch in the pockets.
Fine.
Yeah. Now, another thing, the crotch is always a little too tight. So when you make them up, give me an inch that I can let out there, because they cut me. They're just like riding a wire fence. These are the best that I've had anywhere in the United States. But when I gain a little weight, they cut me under there. So leave me, you never do have much margin there. But see if you can't leave me about an inch from where the zipper ends.
All right, sir.
Now, be sure you got the best zippers in them. These are good that I have. And if you get those to me, I would sure be grateful.
Where would you like to send, please?
White House.
Fine.
The White House. That tape, like all the rest, vintage LBJ. And that's our report for tonight. I'm Aaron Brown in Washington. For all of us at ABC News, good night.
Nightline is always on with abcnews.com, on the web, or AOL. If you'd like a transcript or video cassette of this or any other edition of Nightline, please call 1-800-CALL-ABC.
Nightline has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News, now always on.